Hi, this is part 2 of chapter 16, the one on other punctuation. And for this part, we're going to talk about some of the other punctuation, such as hyphens, dashes, italicizing, which you don't really think about punctuation, but it is, parentheses, quotation marks, and etc. Okay, first of all, we're going to talk about the hyphen. And the hyphen is uh, half of a dash. So we'll be talking about a dash before long, but hyphen is actually just the one short dash. Um, we use them for different things. One of them is to form compound words, such as the air conditioning in our building works well. Air conditioning is a compound noun. Air and conditioning are two separate words, so together they make air conditioning. The attorney will cross-examine. We have two nouns here, cross and examine. So together they form a compound word with this hyphen. Or these are compound verbs, I'm sorry. She is looking for a full-time job. Here's a compound adjective. These are two words describing job. Okay, also we use it to form words with prefixes. Okay, and if you look in the book and this chapter, it talks about prefixes such as ex, self, and quasi. You use a hyphen to form those prefixes, with those prefixes. Okay, so here's ex, here's self. Words beginning with prefixes pre, re, non, and co are usually not hyphenated. Remember, notice it says usually not. Sometimes they are. And this is one of those instances where you'll probably want to refer to your reference manual if you're not sure. Notice here, rewrite. And so here it uses this re prefix, and they don't use a hyphen after it. Here's co-workers. There's no hyphen between that. I know that in your book, they have an example of resign, and they put a hyphen in it because if they don't, the word is actually resign, looks like resign. So sometimes you do use a hyphen for clarity, but in most instances when you're using these prefixes, you don't use a hyphen. Okay, compound numbers. This number starts at the beginning of a sentence, so it has to be written out. And so you have two numbers here, 86, so you use a hyphen for that. Okay. And how about dividing a word over two lines? You'll notice that we have to do that sometimes. The word's too long. Instead of leaving a big old gap in the line, we can put a hyphen here to divide it into the next line. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the dash now, and the dash is two hyphens next to each other. If you use a word processor like Word, when you hit that hyphen two times, it will actually turn into a dash, or the longer element. We use a dash to set off parenthetical elements and positives. In this instance, we have this is a parenthetical element. There's the three employees, and this is renaming them, but it has a little list here with separated by commas. So we could say three employees were honored, and then use that hyphen to set off these names. Okay, oops, let me go back one. Okay, here's another instance. Some equipment may have to be relocated. So this is a parenthetical element, and then it's talking about what the equipment is. Desks, telephones, and these are set off by commas. So we can use a hyphen, or I'm sorry, a dash to set them off in this sentence. Okay, we can also use dashes to show an abrupt change of thought or to achieve emphasis, but we use this sparingly. On some of your questions on the test, it might say emphasize or de-emphasize. This is what they're talking about. Sometimes dashes are used to emphasize things. There's a few other instances where that's done too, but if we want to emphasize something, sometimes we can use a dash to do it. Okay, here we're saying all assistants, and then we're emphasizing this, and that includes Tiffany, for some reason, are invited. You do all the work, she gets all the credit. So it's kind of like an afterthought. You can set that off with a dash. Okay, we can also use a dash to set off a summarizing statement. Okay, it says use a dash, not a colon, to separate an introductory list from a summarizing statement. So here we have addresses, zip codes, and phone numbers. Okay, so this is an introductory statement, and then these are the items we need immediately. So we can use the dash to separate this introductory list from the statement. And like I said, don't use this real often. Okay, we can use a dash to attribute a quotation. You'll often see this like in poetry and other quotes where a dash is put before the name of the author, such as this. This is a quote by Alexander Pope. Okay, how's the dash constructed on the keyboard? You type two hyphens or allow your word processor to insert an M dash. And that's what a dash is an M dash. A hyphen is an N dash. And it's named that way because the M here has two parts. One part of it is a hyphen, and two parts together make the size of the M make the dash. Little trivia there. Okay, now we're going to move on to parentheses. And parentheses show, they kind of emphasize things that are enclosed inside of them. Now, we use, if it's used within a sentence, you put a question mark or an exclamation mark where you would normally put them, but you do not use a period after a statement embedded within another sentence. So here we're going to look at some examples of this. First of all, we use it to set off non-essential sentence elements, and we use them to de-emphasize. So when you see that de-emphasize, they're talking about using parentheses. Remember, the dash emphasizes, parentheses de-emphasize. Explanations, references, and directions are often enclosed within parentheses as well. Okay, so assembly of the bookcase, and then see, it gives us a little bit of instruction here. See the instruction manual is easy and quick. So we could say assembly of the bookcase is easy and quick, and they're telling you if you don't know how to assemble it, see the manual. So it's kind of de-emphasized there. Our income statement, and it's telling you to see Appendix A, shows substantial increase. So they're telling you how to find the income statement if you don't have it. And then our luggage went to St. Louis. Can you believe it? So this is just like an afterthought. And notice that the question mark's inside here by mistake, because this is a statement, but inside the parentheses we have a little question. Okay, show numerals and enclose enumerated items. Okay, your health insurance benefits will be extended for 60, and we've seen this a lot where it spells the number out and then you see it in parentheses. Some business writing recommends you don't do it this way, but you all will often see this in legal documents and things like that. Many companies are using social media tools for marketing, including one. So these are numbers. And they set them off in parentheses so they don't get lost. Okay, punctuation marks that would normally occupy a position already occupied by a second parentheses are placed after the parentheses. So if you attend, and then they give you the date in parentheses, we put the comma on the outside there because it's part of this part of the sentence. Forms were filled out for just one individual, and they're naming James Foster as the individual, so we put the punctuation mark out here in the usual place. Okay, we're going to figure out which one of these are correct. Our sales have increased steadily over the past year. See table 5. Or B, they put table 5 in parentheses. Well, I'm going to assume B is correct because they're giving us some extra information there where to find it, but it's not part of the actual sentence. Okay, I'll ask my coworkers how they feel. Do we put a hyphen between coworkers or not? Well, I'm going to say not because that was one of those prefixes that it says you don't normally put a hyphen between. Okay, his self-confidence has increased. In our book it says that self is one of those words you use hyphens with when you use it as a prefix. So I'm going to say A is correct. And 56 employees declined health insurance, and 56 employees, okay? Remember when we're using compound numbers, we're supposed to hyphenate them, so I'm saying A is correct. Okay, and I purchased a first class ticket for my flight. Do we need to hyphenate that? Excuse me. Well, that is a compound word. So we do use a hyphen, so we would say B was correct. Okay, ABC, NBC, CBS, these are 3 most well-known television networks. Which one are we going to use? Well, we have a list of items introducing a clause, so I would say A is correct. We're going to use the dash. Okay, and then we're going to de-emphasize. Fill out the form, see page 3A for directions, and submit it with your check. Well, to de-emphasize, remember we use parentheses. And so I would say we're going to put some parentheses right here. And I didn't go far enough, evidently, for directions. So, but we're de-emphasizing using the parentheses. Okay, we're going to cover this in the next part.